Hey everyone, this is Cindy. It is Monday, December 2nd, 2024. And the name of this class or this hour is Where Rubber Meets the Road. And our intention here is to pull an idea or a thought or a teaching from A Course in Miracles. And not really teach the teaching so much as um, have a conversation about what it means as we walk around in these bodysuits. Today's teaching, in line with it being Thanksgiving last week in the US, is based on Course in Miracles lesson 195. I walk. Love is the way I walk in gratitude. And as is a habit that I enjoy, groove that I sit in. I begin this hour often with a song. And today's song, I don't even have to stop the record button. Isn't that cool, Barbie? This song was written and recorded by Pat. Many of you know Pat and her husband Pete, who passed away. Man, it's going on 2 years ago now. And the entire song is something that she sent to me, and I love uploaded into my YouTube channel. So I have the rights to play this song, but we're just going to play it. There's no video. Then we'll have a conversation. So let's do that.
I let go of my judgments, let go of my fears, let go of my chains, and I am free. I become one of God's children. I feel His love for me. I have been given everything I need. Love is the way. Love is the way. Love is the way. I walk in gratitude. Love is the way. I see the light in you. Love is the way. I walk in gratitude. I reach out to my brothers, reach out to forgive, reach out for help to understand. There is just one way to heaven. You can't get in alone. We have to walk and sing in hand in hand. Love is the way. 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 I walk in gratitude. Love is the way. Love is the way. I see the light in you. Love is the way. I walk in gratitude. Love is the way. 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 I walk in gratitude. Love is the way. Love is the way. I see the light in you. Love is the way. I walk in gratitude.
So one of the first things I want to say, here's the link. When we talk about things we could do in the world, you don't have to listen to this but a few times before it becomes an earworm. And I've had this, I had this song a number of years. So simply listening to the song a couple of times, it activates, right? It becomes an earworm. And man, when that thinking mind is thinking, if you could give it something like this to occupy its time with, there's a cleaning process that happens. So I was inspired to read just a couple paragraphs. It was funny. I sent this to Sandra and to Amy and to Rana last night, and I said 6, 7, and 8, and Amy came right back and said 9. So I'll let her do 9. I'm gonna reading the paragraphs in the lessons, because it really, there's some beautiful words, but there's something very specific I want to highlight from my own practice that is earlier than 9. So, but I'm going to read these paragraphs, especially these first couple lines. We thank our Father for one thing alone, that we are separate from no living thing and therefore one with him. And we rejoice that no exceptions ever can be made which would reduce our wholeness, nor impair or change our function to complete the one who is himself completion. We give thanks for every living thing, for otherwise we offer thanks for nothing. And we fail to recognize the gifts of God to us. Then let our brothers lean their tired heads against our shoulders as they rest a while. We offer thanks for them, for if we can direct them to the peace that we would find, the way is opening at last to us. An ancient door is swinging free again. A long forgotten word re-echoes in our memory and gathers clarity as we are willing once again to hear. Walk then in gratitude the way of love, for hatred is forgotten when we lay comparisons aside. I just want to say I've been listening to Pema Chodron for our class on Thursday, and the question that I'm sitting with, I stopped and walked away because they were talking about the difference between hatred and anger. And man, I love it. I love contemplating the difference. There's such a significant space of allowing natural emotion to arise and allowing oneself to feel whatever one is feeling. Like permission to be angry, but recognizing that there's no room for hatred in this experience. Hatred is a wall. Anger is an expression. And I've been sitting with that a lot since listening to that pointing. Walk then in gratitude the way of love, for hatred is forgotten when we lay comparisons aside. And that actually is the key to how this lesson is working in me now. I am not grateful because it's not snowing outside right now. Like that, and we do it. Like I watch how the mind will do it over and over and over again. Cindy is experiencing cold symptoms. Thank God it's not COVID. Thank God I can still teach. That's not the gratitude that's being pointed to here. And that's what I've been noticing as I'm sitting in this lesson, how often the egoic mind attaches its gratitude to a specific worldly experience or event, and how that keeps separation in place. Walk then in gratitude the way of love, for hatred is forgotten when we lay comparisons aside. What more remain as obstacles to peace? The fear of God is now undone at last, and we forgive without comparing. We forgive without comparing. Thus, we cannot choose to overlook some things and yet retain some other things still locked away as sins. When your forgiveness is complete, you will have total gratitude, for you will see that everything has earned the right to love by being loving, even as yourself. It all becomes one tapestry. We thank our Father for one thing alone, that we are separate from no living thing and therefore one with him. And then there's a period. and over again as various judgments and wishing things were to get different and why haven't they called yet? And I wish it was warm enough to take a walk. And man, when will this cold have its way and move on, whatever it is? You know, these more and more what's fun is that I'm seeing the thoughts, but they don't they don't have a lot of steam underneath them because I'm I'm conscious about bringing them to this space. You know, this general understanding that anything that's temporary is not worth my attention to attempting to fix is separate from God. That's not about action. And that was the other thing that I really loved about being informed by Pima Chodron's conversation, though Kendall somehow over and over again in my notes, there was this Michael Singer said, you know, he teaches the same thing, but his voice is here for me now, is that anger, if there's a natural allowing of anger, there's a natural allowing of grief, there's a natural allowing of sadness, there's a natural allowing of the sense of shock because XYZ just happened. Sitting in the space of recognizing it's all God and the dream characters having these experiences, and I'm grateful knowing that they're happening in God. And this feeling like they're happening to me is what I get to forgive in gratitude over and over and over again. This poor me. Why is this happening to me? I wish I, separate from God, could take a walk right now, but it's too cold outside. Well, the I, separate from God, isn't because there's nothing separate from God. And aren't I grateful to be reminded of that consciously enough to come back to God in those moments that it feels like I wish things were different. So I'm opening this up for conversation. And at the same time, it's really cool to just set the intention to notice how often your gratitude is attached to the clean bill of health or the fact that I got to take a walk or even that I have 10 fingers and 10 toes and I get to come to this meeting today. How often is our gratitude attached to the knowing that somebody doesn't have it as good as I do? And recognizing that that's a worldly event that you know there's that statement from Nisargadatta Maharaj and also Einstein, right? Either everything is a miracle or nothing is. There's no division in that. And this teaching over and over again is inviting us to stop comparing one life to another. And this is where I get to take a breath and wonder what's going to happen next in the sharing. What, God and Buddha? Pleasure derived by. Go ahead, Amy.
Schadenfreude. Schadenfreude. It's the pleasure that's derived from what you just said. That's just a term, a term for it. It's like so-and-so, I may have it bad, but so-and-so has it even worse, which makes me feel better.
Andrew.
Thank you. What came to me while you were sharing, Cindy, is that we are all projections. Every ego is a projection. Everything we see is a projection. And what is a projection but a thought made seemingly real by belief in that? So what we see in the news is a projection, but it's stuff we believe. I don't know how I'm putting this together, but that's what came to me while you were sharing.
Based on this lesson, if you were consciously aware of that, could you, in the moment that something on the news created an upset in that moment, how would you use this lesson to shift?
Nothing happens without our permission. That's in the course somewhere. Nothing happens without our permission, even death, which isn't real, of course. Life is the only reality. So that's how I would try to ease my upset from, because news does upset me. Yeah, ever since this last election, I decided to stop watching news. But yeah, everything happens, nothing happens without our permission. And that goes for everyone, even people who don't know it.
There are things I expect that I'm going to say, but not before Barbie. It's good to have you here,
Yeah,
Barbie.
thanks. I used to get upset over the easiest things. I called my girlfriends, they never answered me. I texted them, they never answered me. And even now, it's like my husband says, why don't you get, I says, because I realize now they got a life other than my own. I know they care about me and they know I care about them, so I don't care. But and I have a gratitude journal that I've been writing ever since 9 years ago when I turned 60. Every night I put it down and I do put, I'm glad I walk. I'm grateful for my walk. I'm grateful for my nap. I'm grateful for these classes. But I also put down, I'm grateful for the argument I had with so and so because I learned from that. Because at one time, I got people afraid of me because I speak my mind. I mean, it's my well, a neighbor down the way, so she adopted me and my husband. We're mom, pop to her. So now her kids are like my grandchildren, right? And I told them, matter of fact, I told them I don't like what you're doing, and he's afraid to come into my house now. Do I care? No. But I'm sorry that happened, but she's not. I'm trying to teach her how to be a mother, so or less, because she hasn't been around them. But then it says it's not my job. What she does, she does. But I scared off people left and right from me. Do I care? No. If they can't, I speak my mind, and if that ruins our friendship, fine. I mean, I'm only in this complex here. I don't care. I hopefully I won't be here too much longer, maybe 3, 4 years. I don't want to live here. I don't want to die here. But if I do die here, I'm grateful for it. At least I have a home that I belong to, a nice warm place to be in. It doesn't bother me anymore. I mean, things that used to bother me don't bother me anymore. My brother didn't call me on Thanksgiving. Did I care? No, he called me yesterday and we had a fun time talking. So I just don't let things bother me as much as I used to. I don't know if that's because I'm a little bit depressed or is that because I'm dying each day a little bit more and I'm changing more and more. I have no idea, but I take every day as it comes. I'm supposed to go to the doctor tomorrow, but if we get all these inches of snow, it's like I can't control this. I can't control the weather. If it happens, it happens. I take whatever is given me. Don't bother me anymore. I don't know. Thank you for sharing.
So I can share how I've been using this lesson, but I'm just taking a breath to see if we have a lot of regulars that typically raise their hand by now that haven't yet. But um, I've been using this lesson is to consciously watch the thoughts and the stories that start pulling the sense of a me into the story. And as soon as I notice, I stop, I reconnect with spirit, and I ask for the atonement or the forgiveness. And I use different words. I become very conversational. I will say things like, there is something here for me, dear Lord. How do I turn this upset into a setup? We've been talking about that recently, right? Everything is for me, nothing is against me. So I'm not looking to use it's here, it's created this experience. I'm feeling upset. So teach me. And whatever's here feels real. I'll just talk it through. And there's a story that nobody in this community, and but I'm holding space, and it's got a lot of moving parts, right? And I'm not intimately involved. Like, I have no decision process. I am just one who others are telling me different parts of the story. And in general, the story goes that a friend's mother-in-law is, has not been well, had not been well, and the friend's father-in-law is a little stubborn, and both of them are approaching 89, and they live in Florida. And this woman collapsed in the bathroom last week, didn't have the strength to pick herself up, and her husband couldn't pick her up, so they called the ambulance, and she went to the hospital. They diagnosed the UTI, and they started treating her for the UTI. The family did not immediately get into a plane. They left Dad alone for a while. This woman was not getting better. She was getting worse. Almost a week later, she's been diagnosed with a stroke. Now, I've been watching not only that story and Cindy's opinion of this story and medical care and family care, but also the bickering now that's going on in various members of the family. That person should do this person should do that. And it's like a family attached to a family. So I even had my mother, I heard her say, there are adult grandchildren. Why? Like, a lot of people have opinions about medical care in Florida, opinions about how doctors treat 90-year-olds differently than they treat a 50-year-old with the same, and I'm sitting here watching. I have no authority in any aspect of this, but I'm watching, and I caught Cindy um, more than twice, more than 5 times, um, believing an opinion, a judgment, having a point of view. A story that is three levels back. And I'm fully committed to this work. So, and Michael Singer taught me the first thing you do is not say anything out loud, right? So I can honestly state that in those circumstances, when I've been asked to respond to some aspect of shouldn't they or if they, and I can't, whatever, my key verbal response has been, I'm not part of there. I'm not there. I don't have enough information to have an opinion. That's what I've been saying out loud. But I've noticed that there is an aspect of the personality that has an opinion. And I've been taking that to spirit. I'm like, all right, so is these decisions and these people, are they more powerful? Are they real relative to this story? Should I judge them? Because Cindy knows that they should have done it differently. If they had only XYZ, and if I was there then, whatever it was in any given moment. Or should I say, hey, God, look at this. Cindy's believing that a world that's not even part of her day-to-day life experience, not part of her paying her bills or telling her mother she loves her or any of those things, is real and should be done differently. I'm seeing it. There's a sense here. I'm believing it. How about you help me forgive it? And then I've been watching the part of me that says, oh, no. it's real, it's true. It's you got to know that the world's falling apart. And this is just a symbol. I'm like, no, 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 no. Either this work that I invest so much of my day-to-day stuff in is valid and true, or nothing's true, and I might as well crawl up on the couch with butter pecan ice cream and find something on Netflix to binge watch until it's all over. But I don't do that. I'm here, right? So that's how I've been using it. And I've been noticing waves, of resistance to that, to wanting to be adamant in my position, and then a loosening and a softening. But it's a very, very, very cool way, I've noticed, a very effective way here to just practice. Just practice. Hey, Andrew.
Well, I think you're doing it right. It sounds like the perfect response to your emotion, your feeling. What other thing comes to my mind is that the laws of cause and effect really make it impossible for us to judge fairly. So it's that we shouldn't judge at all. There are so many factors that, you know, an egoic mind can't know. You'd have to know every detail about every person involved. It's just impossible to make a fair judgment. So that's why we're told not to judge. Judge not, and you won't be judged. Thank
Hey,
you.
Amy, did you notice that Andrew just brought up that cause and effect thing? Yeah, it's all yours.
Thank you, Andrew. When I first read this lesson, I emphasized different words. And when I first read it, it was, and it's funny, Cindy, because I've got notes in this lesson from when I was reading Paul Selig.
Word,
So,
I am word.
yeah, anyway, it was love is the way I walk in gratitude. Love is the way I walk in gratitude. And I found it difficult to be grateful for things I just wasn't grateful for. It was, it was like I was forcing myself to be grateful for things. I remember this. And then I read it, not love is the way I walk in gratitude, but love is the way I walk, right? Just love is the way I walk in gratitude. So the way that I emphasized different words made a difference in how the lesson penetrated my heart. Then it was love is the way. Love is the way. I walk in gratitude for that. Right? Love is the way. How glad that makes my heart feel to know and rest in that truth. Love is the way. So there was that. And then another note that I wrote to myself was, comparison is a form of refusal to recognize oneness. Comparison is a form of refusal to recognize oneness. So I could almost say, when I think it's me that's walking, there is no me walking. And how grateful I am for that. We're just love. That's it. Just manifesting itself in seemingly separate forms, in seemingly separate moments of time. That's just all we are. So I've gone full circle in this lesson. I ain't walking anywhere. in any way. Right? I am just the love. That's it. That's all anyone is. And I am word through my body. I am word through knowing myself as word. Right? I am word. I claim dominion over my knowing myself as word. And there are no partial truths. Right? So that's what I got from that lesson. That's just looking back for my notes from I don't even know how long ago.
So for
Thank you.
those who don't know Paul Selig's work, word is defined in Paul Selig's work as God in action. So the and there's an invitation to claim yourself. Word, I am word. So you stand still and you claim the truth that what I am is God in action, which conceptually we basically agree to. And then the experience seems to be something else. And when you claim, now wait a minute, I know myself in truth, I am word through this intention to know myself as word, and I am word through my intention to know you as word. It creates some sort of alchemical reaction. You're standing still. You're like, there's this an experience of what I am. I don't know what I am, but I know I'm not you. And just allowing that to come to the surface and claim that that can't be true based on all the teachings we spend so much time, marinating in it. I'm just so grateful. Word, I am word, God in action. Sandra.
Good morning, my friends. I'm kind of jumbled, but I'll just start talking and see what comes out. As we live in this relative world, the physical world, the dualistic world, we're operating in it as these individual expressions of divine being. And so we're here experiencing all these opposites and all these contrasts, and comparisons become very spontaneous almost, based upon all of the conditioning. So that's one thought. I mean, Einstein's theory of relativity is all relative, to him. And for me, I'm going to jump to something else. I was watching a TV show last night on Netflix, a drama, a historical drama, and I was into it. I was enjoying it. And something bad happened. And I immediately detached from it and thought, they're actors. That's not really happening. I don't need to feel emotion around that. I don't need to feel horror or mad or anger. I just immediately watched it and then I had another thought that came in that said, well, you keep doing this, you're not going to feel anything. Anyway, so jumping back to walking in gratitude, and I apologize for jumping all over the place because my mind is all over the place, but now in life, in real life, if I can call it real, it's not the play within the play, it's not on the TV, it's happening here. And I can do the same thing. I can go, wow, look at that. It's not really happening, but there's something in me that recognizes this is like a repeat for me. It's like a broken record, but it keeps happening. I want to feel it. And I'm actually, whereas before I was only grateful for the seemingly good things, now I'm grateful for all of it. And if it's like, oh yeah, look at that. They're fighting or whatever. And I'm like, oh yeah, they get to experience fighting. Maybe someday they'll wake up, or maybe not. It's okay. And I think that's the love that Amy was talking about. I can love all of it because I am love. I'm walking in perfect holiness. I've still got that going on in my head. If I'm in perfect holiness, then what was there not to be grateful for? And even if I experience the relativity, the dualistic, the comparisons, even if I experience that, I'm not falling into the trap of it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I'm seeing it. And I might even in that moment choose to fully experience it. I don't know if I'm really choosing, but I'm fully experiencing it. Even the sadness. I cried the other day. I just cried and cried. And it's going to sound a little crazy, but I loved the crying. I was grateful for the crying. I was grateful for the depth of emotion that while I'm this human form walking on this earth, seemingly, I get to feel that. And there's something about it that I think that's why, remember how you go to a good movie and it's a really good movie if you feel emotion in the movie. It's not a good movie if you're just like, okay, who cares? I mean, The Notebook. Anybody watch The Notebook? That one really got me. Even my husband, who never cries, cried in that movie. But yeah. So I'm this holy, I walk in holiness. I walk with gratitude and love. And it is freaking awesome. One last thought. I remember when Angela DeLulla was giving his lessons, well, a lot of us were in that, and he said there were two characteristics that he saw in people who had awakened that he saw over and over and over again. And one was that they had a new identity, and the other was that they were grateful, that they expressed gratitude all the time. I think that goes right along with this walking in gratitude. I'm grateful to be here right now in this moment with you, beautiful people, the light that comes from you. Thank you.
So I've been watching The Chosen. For some reason, I watched the first two seasons and then I walked away for a while and then I came back and I'm towards the end of the fourth season now. But this is just related to some of what Sandra just shared. Yesterday, there was a scene where Jesus and his disciples were walking down the road and the Roman soldiers stopped them. So, law, the time that the Jews can be coerced to carry all of the Roman soldiers' stuff for miles. And so they were really nasty and stuff, and they insisted that, everybody drop their stuff and carry. They made fun of them and put the helmets on their head, and they're trudging the smile, and I'm feeling it. And the disciples were expressing like, I don't mind that they're doing it to me, but Jesus is up there and they're making fun of him, and I can't, like, all of this emotion, right? To the point where I walked away. I turned it off. I felt it. I was like, I didn't want to experience, like, there was something here that says, I don't want to see what's happening next. I walked away. This morning, in my contemplation time, like it's 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm typically contemplating, reading, studying, meditating. I am told to turn the TV on. Like it was, and I made my little chocolate coffee that I learned how to make in Mexico, and I turned it back on. And and they're still on the road, and they're still making fun of Jesus, and they're still making fun of everybody else, right? And then they get to the mile marker, the 1 mile marker. And and one of the Roman soldiers said, I bet you can't wait. I bet you've never been so happy to see the mile marker. And everybody drops their stuff. And Jesus keeps walking. They're like, what are you doing? Do you know the law? And he said, yep, you can't coerce me to carry your stuff. But anything I give you freely, I give you freely. And then he looks at all his disciples and he says, keep going. They only have another mile. And his disciples, some of them were still not happy, but they picked up the stuff and they kept walking, right? And then, like, the head Roman soldiers looking at Jesus going, well, at least let me take my helmet back. I don't want anybody. And Jesus is smiling at him going, if you'd like, you could have your helmet back, and Matthew's like tripping, and the Roman soldiers slowly just remove the burdens. And I just started crying like a baby. I'm still not fully, like, but Jesus, and at one point Judas comes up to Jesus going, what are you doing? Like, why are we doing this? And Jesus looked, and this is, now I know why I'm telling the story. Jesus looked at Judas, and he said, when did we meet? And in The Chosen, Judas and Jesus met at the Sermon on the Mount, right? And Judas says, at the sermon, he says, well, every time you're upset about anything going on in the world, remember what you were taught, the Sermon on the Mount. It's such a moving moment for me. The difference between believing the teachings, believing the truth, and living. It's such a, and I just cried and cried and cried, and they moved right into the Martha and Mary story, which is, also another one of my favorites. But yeah. So I'm going to take a breath because, Richard hasn't told us he loved us yet. And I'm starting to feel antsy about that.
Hi, everybody. Love you all. Great sharing. I love this conversation. It really resonates with my evolution as a separate self. And I remember some years ago, I want to say 5 or 6 years ago, I was listening to a video with Muji, and he said the most important prayer you can have in your practice is the 2 words, thank you. And you say that every moment of every day. And that really resonated with me. And I love the lesson you read from. I actually shared that with a group earlier last month on the 12-step meeting you have. And I love what Amy said and Sandra said, because I'm on the same path. Some years ago, I don't remember when, I started being thankful after Muji. I started thanking everything in my life. I was obviously trying to manifest the love that I am in truth, now that I woke up to my real identity, the question was, now how do I manifest that in my life as a separate self? So I'm not identifying with the ego, but I realize my experience is as a separate self. So I am being lived was another phrase that came up. In other words, infinite awareness or infinite unconditional love is experiencing itself through a body mind called Richard, which is illusory, a dream figure in a dream. So how am I doing with the manifestation of my real self, which is the love that I am? And as I went through my evolution, I'm still going through it, obviously, but I started thinking everything. I'd be drinking coffee. I'd look over my coffee machine and say, thank you. I would be, I would exercise. I would thank my exercise equipment. I would thank my bathroom, my shower, my toothpaste, anything. Because, and then as I did this more and more, I became aware more and more that I'm really everything. I'm thankful for everything. Now, it was really easy in the beginning to be thankful for what I thought was pleasurable. But I learned, I'm still learning all this, that even the things I judge as not pleasurable, I have to be thankful for because it's causing me to choose again. It reminded me of what I'm not. It's almost like a self-inquiry. The whole experience of living is like a self-inquiry. Oh, I'm not this. I'm not this. I'm not this. So regardless of whether it's a pleasurable experience or not a pleasurable, it's still something that I feel grateful for because I'm living what I am or what I'm not. And I'm aware of what I'm not, when I'm not what I am, and I'm aware of what I am when I am. So it's just a wonderful experience. The whole thing, good, bad, or indifferent. And the other thing I wanted to pardon my French here, but a few years ago, I had a friend of mine. It was somebody in his family that passed away. I think it was his mother. And we were at his home after the service, and his cousin was there. And his cousin, somebody said something about opinions. I have an opinion. And he said, well, you know, opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one. And at first, my response, was he calling me an asshole? And I never really know. It wasn't bad personally. It was just an expression of everybody's got their own opinions about what life should be or what people should be doing. Or so when you recognize that, let everybody be who they are and let the chips fall where they may was the old expression, and just love everything. So love you all.
Love you.
Great being here.
So, Amy, just before you unmute, I just wanted to give Rana a chance to speak because we know that she's being called away frequently. And now that she's sitting and her video's on, just in case there was anything she wanted to share in that space.
Well, I choose joy, first of all. So I'm wearing this today. Love is definitely becoming an action kind of thing. There's a beingness, but there's an action in that I can choose that. And I'm always grateful when I do, when I make that choice. As I choose that more and more, this is what I was thinking about. Seemingly there's more to be grateful for, right? There's more to love. There's when I, shift that seeing with help. It's interesting, my family is quiet. So when we have visitors like we do now, you know, there's a lot more conversation going on, and there's a real noticing of storytelling and others' preferences and opinions. And there's a noticing of how I would have responded. It's very noticeable how, because I can hear it come right up, you know, but there's that choice to just allow that to arise and fall and just see what happens. Because there was a point where this one thought that it was my job to point out that, oh, that's quite an opinion, right? Like I'm helping somebody by being like, you're being so opinionated about that or whatever. But I've heard a lot of phrases like, I told her she should. I told him he ought to. You know, and it's just from this place now, not that it's wrong, but it's from a place that I feel from peace now. Because when I was used to thinking that someone should or shouldn't or do something different, there was the chaos and the suffering within me because they never did what I said. You know? And so it's really interesting to be with family and also to allow them to be who they are. I know who they are, and allow them to be the character and love them, because I have a great mother-in-law, I really do. And the last thing that I will share, thank you, Amy, so much, is when Sandra was sharing, because I was listening. Isn't it interesting about watching a movie within this movie? We are so quick to be like, oh, that movie is not real, right? But this is real, you know? And it occurred to me too that this allows all kinds of energies and expressions to come up, which I can choose to allow to come into being and be expressed or healed. And whether or not the movie within the movie is doing the same thing, maybe that's a pointer of something else. And this is for me that needs to be healed. This one does not watch movies anymore. There's a disturbance over physical violence and things like that. And I've just decided I'm taking a break from media. Unless somebody says, this movie is so good and there's no violence, right? But I'm not drawn to video imagery these days. I'm listening to things, even things I would have watched on TV, like a sporting event. I'm listening to them on some sort of device radio thing. So auditory has become very prominent. I don't know what that's about. So thank you for allowing me to share. I love you all so very much. So grateful for you. Who is me?
All right, Amy, all yours.
Just piggybacking on Richard and Rana. Rana first, you know, the lucid dreaming is a great doorway to understanding that this is the same thing. It's a really fantastic lesson. It's partly, yeah, what I love about my lucid dreaming, but anyway, just that. And then I just want to piggyback on Richard, thanking the shower. I read this article, I think it was Sun Magazine. Have you ever, any of you ever gotten Sun Magazine? It's a really great, uplifting magazine. Kendall might know it. Anyway, there was an article in there. It was about gratitude and how this guy woke up in the morning and was so grateful that he could turn his electric lights on, and that he just kind of went through all the things he was grateful for, that his sheets were clean, that I can turn the lights on when it's dark in the morning, that I can make coffee, that I can go take a hot shower, that I have clothes that I didn't have to weave the linen from my clothing. You know, it's just there and I could just buy it. And it's so easily that I have warm shoes, that my computer works, that, you know, it just went on and on about how and it just woke me up to all the things that I take for granted, that I wasn't expressing gratitude for. And why not? If everything is all one, if God is in everything, what's wrong with saying you're grateful for the hot water in your shower? That's just great, saying your gratitude to yourself, you know? And it's such a fun thing to just find all the things that we can be grateful for. And part of why we know it's true is it makes us happy. I mean, it makes me happy just to think of it and talk about it, right? So it must be true because love is happiness. So I just want to thank Richard for that and put that in, and thanks Cindy for this great discussion, everybody. Really wonderful discussion.
So what are we going to do with these 4 minutes? Hey, Audrey, what are we going to do? Are you really there?
Well, I have a question actually that just came to mind about what we're talking about, and sometimes I've sort of wrapping my head around this happiness thing, and just yeah, I'd like that because it's really helped me here, because I think, oh, you know, I like this little item, and maybe I'll find the perfect thing. And as I'm going through that, I'm like, but this is in the world, and that doesn't make me happy. It's not going to make me happy. And now, Amy, with you saying that, you know, if it's happy, but not that happiness out of I desire, want to make me better. So because that was a little bit of a slippery slope I never even saw before, was that the happiness part wasn't real happiness. So thank you. I hope that made sense.
Well, here's what's coming up for me, Audrey, as you were sharing. So tell me if this is useful. I'm in the shower. It is phenomenal. The temperature is perfect. And I'm sitting there in gratitude and love for the perfect shower, right? There's nothing in this moment that I want changed. That's happy. There's nothing in this moment I want changed. Then the mind gets in, going, man, there are millions of people out there that don't have a hot shower, and I do. That's a different experience. You'll have to unmute if you wanted us.
Yes, absolutely. It's when the mind comes in with the story.
Yep.
Like, you have enough of that. Do you really think you need another one? Or yes, thank you.
That's, to me, that's part of the difference. You know me, I could spend another hour talking about this stuff. That's what came up while I was listening. 2 hours? Is that what Rhonda just said? Hey, Sir Richard of the Lake. We get to hear from you again.
What came to mind, what Audrey was talking about was, and what you said, what I find to be my experience is when I'm grateful, when I'm actually saying I'm grateful for something, thank you, I'm in the present moment. So when I'm grateful, I stay in the present moment. I'm not going down a rabbit hole, a train of thought that says, well, maybe it should be this way, or maybe it should be that way. If I'm focused on gratitude, then I stay in the present moment. It really works well for me.
Thank you. Amy.
Yeah, just quickly, Audrey, I'm constantly reminded that my happiness doesn't arise because of the object. So, you know, the new clothing or whatever it is, the happiness arises within me because that's what I am, right? It's not the object that causes it, right? So it's not the object that you should feel guilty about anything like that, right? It's just what we are coming into the forefront. So enjoy the enjoyment, right? And don't worry about the object. Right?
Michael Singer taught me, he said, when we receive what it is that the mind says we want, in that moment, the mind gets quiet. And when the mind is quiet, we are experiencing the truth of who we are. So the happiness is always there. The mind telling us it should be different is simply distorting what is always there. And somehow, when he put it that way, something dropped. Sandra, I noticed your hand up.
Yeah, this is quick. I spent a lot of years in Al-Anon, my 12-step program, and we used to make gratitude lists. And something I learned about myself was that the mind could get in instead of the true grateful feeling. And if I'm just making a list to check off all the things I should be grateful for, it's very different than feeling gratitude. So I now only go with what I feel grateful for, and that gives me the benefit. It's a whole different thing than just, okay, let me make my gratitude list.
And Audrey, the final word is yours.
All right. Well, it's very quick. I want to just say what came in as after all that is I feel like a spiritual superstar.